Hey guys, what's up? Hope you guys are having a good morning. Jerry, Douglas, mods in here. Appreciate you. Taylor, what's up? Dennis, Ghost, Unfortunate. Hey, hi back at you. I'm just over the border. I'm in Indiana. Oh goodness. Let's see here. Man, I probably need to put my glasses on. I can't even read that. Wow. Okay. Digna, Skywatcher, Shannon, Thinker, Dennis, David. Hope you guys are all doing good in there. Somebody give me a thumbs up if the audio and everything's fine. Frank, good to see you. King Kong, Sumuri, Grego, Moonrider, Skywatcher again. Early bird get the wages, that's right. Well, it's kind of late bird for me because I ain't been asleep at all. Not yet. Not yet. So, hope everybody's having a good day. Hey, Ashley, what's up? Jerry, how you doing? Yeah, so I'm just going to kind of jump into this, guys. I got a couple things I really want to get out here. And I hope that you guys can understand what we're doing here. There are some things to talk about with that flare still, and we'll go into that in a minute. But I'll give you a little rundown here on space weather. You guys remember me saying we were getting like little spikes, pretty sequential, in like a pattern? Well, look at this. Okay, it's still doing it. So, it's almost like it's, like I said, it has something to do with the rotation of the Earth. Its positioning every day. For whatever reason, this is picking up some sort of a frequency disruption. I guess it could be the actual flares, I guess, but not typically. But, regardless, if you're feeling ringing in your ears and all that kind of good stuff, that definitely could be this right here. If you're just not feeling right, you can be moody. You can just have something back there that says, man, I just don't feel quite right today. This could definitely be it. It isn't always it, but it is a good portion of the time. So, yeah. Now, obviously the big flare happened yesterday. We got that, right? Right here. I guess I'll pull you guys up for a second while I got you on this. But you can see this, right, guys? And, again, yes, I did see a few reports of some radio or some communication issues and all that kind of thing that was happening during that. Notice how this thing, it tapered down, okay? Because, when you get the solar X-ray flux, what this is showing you is the conditions at that sensor, at that data collection sensor. I'm not quite sure where this one is at. I'm assuming it's probably on one of the satellites out there fairly close to the Earth, because it might be on the GOES, I guess. I think it probably is on the GOES, now that I think about it. But this here is something we haven't talked about a whole lot, because, guys, for the longest time, we haven't seen this thing move. This is the Proton Flux. I've kind of left it off to the side because we just really haven't had any need to talk about it. Rip, Hilly, how you guys doing? So, when it starts doing this, and then and it hadn't done it in such a long time, you wonder why and what causes this to do that, right? If you didn't really know what you were looking at, you'd look at the flare here, and you would say, well, that's hours different. How could it have any effect on this? But it does. That's exactly what we're seeing here, and I'll explain to you when we get there. But geomagnetic activity, it's kind of bumping around here and there. I do look for this to increase, because there is a pretty decent chance we're going to catch a glancing blow from the CME that was related to this flare. We may catch a little bit of the wake, is what I call it, because it kind of catches up with some of the solar wind that was already there increasing, and it kind of blended together, and it loops out a little bit, and we may catch a glancing blow from it. If we do get a glancing blow, I would look for probably like a G level 1 storm. I wouldn't look for anything much bigger than that. But, after seeing this, nobody expected to see this today. Okay, that's the other thing that we need to talk about, because what's happened is this flare that we've seen, okay, that we've all been watching, looking at. I guess I could take you over here and show it to you again. Might be a good thing, huh? Let's see if I can get to 131. See if it's back far enough. Probably not. So I'm going to take that back a little bit there, and we'll take a look at it again. But because this thing was off the side, it did not hit our detectors, directly. And we see this quite often sometimes on the ones that are, we don't really know how powerful they are. Now, this one is going to smack stereo A right in the face. So, we're going to get a really good idea when it hits there what it would have done to us. Because stereo A is essentially the same distance away from the sun as we are. Okay? So, but it doesn't have the protection that the Earth does with the electromagnetic field. So again, here's that flare, obviously. We've all probably got that image burnt in our head now. Because, again, it's the biggest one in over 3 years. That in itself should speak volumes. So, yeah. So there's that right there. Now, again, it's off the side. But yet we can still see it. Why? Well, because it was so large, it stuck out enough. It fired out here far enough that the light and the x-rays actually went out here, and when it did, it just spread it all over. And now because of this one, we've seen that little that the energy wave is what I call it, went across this almost the whole half of the sun over here. Disturbed everything right there. And then we had CMEs and stuff happening on the other side. So, I mean, it was really active. And again, guys, I'm going to show you something right now before we go any further, because check this out. You guys see this? I know it might not look impressive because of the visual here. But what are we looking at here? We're looking at 6 official sunspots facing the Earth right now. I would have never thought in my wildest dreams I would have been saying that this early in the sun cycle. It is definitely, and again, yesterday it only had 3, maybe 4, if I remember right. And for whatever reason, they've designated these other ones. So they must show the characteristics for a sunspot, and they've been on the Earth-facing side long enough to be able to do that. Yeah, that's a lot of sunspots, guys, for this early in the sun cycle. It really is. And, granted, 2783 is getting ready to rotate off, but the one that just blew the flare is going to be rotating on. So that's an overall increase in, x-rays anyway. It's brought us up off the floor. Because we were riding so low for such a long time that, you just didn't really know where to go with it. Again, this is spaceweather.com, guys. I would encourage you guys to go check them out over here, okay? Please do. Go give them some love, because they do a lot. They did a really good job on this stuff. Now, you heard me say the biggest one in over 3 years, right? So if we go back 3 years, where does that take us? 1, 2, 3. 2017. Do you guys see how active 2017 was? The lower the number percentage here, the more active the sun was. The more sunspots that were facing us, the number of days, right? So, we're in the first year of coming into the new sun cycle, but yet we're getting stuff that likely was stuff from, the end of the last sun cycle. It was starting to taper down, but it hadn't got into the deepest part of the minimum. It was still almost 2 years away from that. And they, again, they made this an M4.4 class flare, okay? Definitely very substantial, but I think it was bigger. I really do. And that right there should show you guys and really like tip you off that you need to pay attention to this as much as you can. Because I really truly think that this probably was a low X class flare. Now, it wasn't no freaking planet exploder or anything like that. It would not have been a Carrington event or anything like that. But I do think that if it had been Earth facing and this flare hit us, I think number one, we'd have known it was bigger. Number two, we would have had issues, electrical issues. Which this right here is actually causing some of that with the... Now, when we're talking about the Proton Flux, guys, the biggest danger here is actually because you'll get what they call surface charging on the satellites. It'll add a whole lot of electricity out there, or charged particles, and it can overload and give the circuitry false signals, and they can have big issues and stuff with satellites, spacecraft. Astronauts have to watch this really close. It's radiation. And any of the astronauts that's out there in space right now, I guarantee you they're taking precautions right now just because of this. So, how did I know to look at that? Well, I went down here, and this is what got me looking at everything again. And I was just scrolling down to look at the aurora forecast, and I seen this. See how this is split? Typically, that's all one big straight line. I usually don't even look at it, but it caught my eye. Then, I see this. Okay, remember this is the one that was showing us the flares, right? But we get to right here, and it does this. That's the proton increase. Okay, you notice it's coming in on the poles. That's radiation. It was a delayed reaction because that's what happens. It's behind the initial X-ray. And again, these are proton fluxes, so it's an increase in the proton density, basically. And it's hitting, and that's what we're seeing here. So what's that mean for us? Well, again, it's mainly for the satellites. Things can get all jacked up. Now, if the proton flux gets really, really high, and it makes it down to the surface, we could have issues, like I said, with the electrical grids, our own personal electronic components. Any of that stuff can happen. So what I'm saying here, guys, the fact that it brought the proton flux up is telling me that this flare was bigger than what it was reported as. And I'm not saying it was anybody's fault, including the people that, the agencies here, NASA, that kind of thing. I'm just saying that we couldn't see it because it was on the, it was on the side of the sun. We really only caught a sideways view of it from our planet. So, hey, Lurk, ain't seen you in a minute, man. Actually, so, and you see the electron flux dancing around a little bit. The magnometer is too. Nothing big, though. But then you see this, again, this is still hanging around. Okay? So this is going to hang around. This is going to be an extended thing till we absorb and just get rid of this stuff. But again, I want to stress that I do think that this flare was bigger than an M4. And I just showed you the reasons why. So we have to understand that we dodged a bullet again. Because the one that blew off the backside is from this same very spot. The one we were all talking about last week that blew off the backside and gave us the big full halo. Well, this did too. This gave us a big huge halo. So we have to understand that, okay? And that's the only reason why I'm bringing it up. Again, it is what it is. We can't do anything about any of this stuff. Is it really catastrophic? No, it's not. But if the next flare is facing us and we get hit with the next flare, I guarantee you we will have issues. That may not be planet destroying and all that kind of stuff, but it will be into the areas where we're going to be talking about power outages and transformer issues. When we start talking about X-class flares. Hey, lower class, good to see you again. So, I was really surprised when I got on here and seen that. And it looks like it's leveling off, which is a good thing. Because as it goes further and further north, again, stuff becomes more and more substantial. You guys hear me talk about, hey, cosmic ray issues, right? Well, this stuff comes in on the poles easy too. So people that are actually flying airplanes up that far, riding on the planes, just taking trips, cabin crew, all that, they have to pay attention to this. Astronauts especially, because they do not have an electromagnetic field to protect them. They have to take precautions when this stuff happens. And I would almost bet that this took them off guard, because I don't think that they were I don't think they thought this was going to happen. Again, this is a very, very big flare for this early in the sun cycle, and I still, given all this proton flux stuff, I might have said, hey, well, maybe it was an M4, until I seen this stuff. Because we get this usually when we get big flares. Now, again, it doesn't have to be, but that's typically what we see. So, yeah. So let me go back over here to ISWA. And I want to show you guys something, okay? Let me, because they do that when, they measure that proton stuff in, let me show it to you here real quick. Right here, okay? MEVs, all right? You see the difference in numbers? Well, they start looking at this. So I went over here to look at this because this is what this is going to show. It's radiation, right? So I click on it, and this thing does not update. We do not get any data past the 31st of October. A month ago. This part of that tool has been down for a month. So take that for what it's worth. I mean, I'm not going to say that that's a nefarious thing, because it has been down for 30 days, and this is really the only time we really needed to look at it. So I don't know that it was done on purpose. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying the fact is that tool's down and has been for a month. Now the data is probably still there somewhere. It's just this site, ISWA, something's going on with that. I can't tell you exactly what that is, but hey George, what's up? Forever Strong, Axe, hey, I responded to your email, Axe. Okay, might take a look at it. Arizona. So and again, guys, this thing is coming around the edge, and it blew on the backside. It's blown over here. What makes us think that when it gets over here, it ain't gonna do the same? This thing has got a lot of energy with it. Okay, so what we're going to do here, let's go to here real quick, and I will show you this. I'm going to put the chat away again for a few minutes here. This is the magnetopause models. The sun's off to the left. Okay. Remember, 3 or 4 videos back, I was telling you guys we're probably going to have a density event, because that's what Enlil was showing, and that this thing would probably go a lot of blue, and it's exactly what we're seeing right here. Okay, this could have something to do with that proton flux too. Yes, if it's more dense, obviously the density of the particles that are hanging around, it would have an effect on that. Again, I want to point out this little anomaly also. Okay, we were kind of calling it a bird, but you see that, and it's not doing it up here. It's specific to this spot. Now we'll catch it over here every once in a while, but it's more of this over here. I wonder if it's a tool issue or not. I don't know. But that just means that there's more dense particles there. At least that's what the tool is trying to represent. Okay. Now the white is low density. Pressure. Again, you know, this is more symmetrical than what we've seen it. Okay. So we're definitely, you know, that's what I would expect to see. Now we still are kind of getting pushed on the front and back, kind of egg-shaped a little bit, but that's not, you know, extensive because we've seen it so much worse. Now the speed up here is probably going to fluctuate some too. Obviously the darker reds are faster speed. So we can definitely see that we're getting some waves of action going on here. And it makes sense because the geomagnetic activity had been bumped up. So all that stuff is kind of, you know, it's jiving together. Now the ACE data right here, guys, again, the BZ went back up into the positive. So it's really not, you know, best conditions to bring that stuff into our system. Density here, it looks like it dropped out. That's kind of crazy, is what I'm trying to say. I don't know. But we'll go over here and we'll look at this. And this is the Australian model. So if we look at the density here, you can definitely see it. It even says protons on it, guys. That got up to 16 right there. You know, that's substantial. That's quite a bit. Which is why this ACE model doesn't make much sense to me, because it's showing it just bottomed out. So, take that for what it's worth. Now also, guys, this is not a CME tracker. This right here is an Enlil prediction model. And it's predicting the conditions of density and speed. Nothing else. So just know that. I've heard a lot of people calling this, hey, this is where we look when we see CMEs and stuff. It is, but it's not to look at the CME. It's actually, the, you know, if you get technical with it, it's about the density and the speed. That's what you're looking at. So, you know, if we take this, and again, why are we seeing this? Because that CME is going to hit stereo A right on the face. Okay, it's spiking here, spiking there. The range is 0 to 50 up here, which never happens unless we're getting events like this. So if we go to, you know, we're right here in time. Now remember, because this range is so big, this little hump here, really, in reality, what we're used to seeing here, it should be like this. Okay? It's flattened out because the range is so big. It doesn't look as impressive. It looks like, well, that ain't nothing going on. Well, yeah, it kind of is. Because that's 10. And it's above 10. So, yeah. Now remember, this is the conditions at stereo A. The red line, and then the earth is green. Wipe stereo B off your mind, because we're never going to get data from that again. So, I'm not going to go into why, but yeah. Just not happening. Did all that. Did all that. Geoelectric field model. Okay, this is that density probably hitting us, guys. And the speed's up too a little bit. So we could be experiencing some coronal hole stuff going on also. You know, we can't forget that. You know, anytime there's a coronal hole, I know we were connected to the northern coronal hole anyway. So we were getting a higher wind speed to begin with. And density. But we've all seen that graph there. You know, this chart or tool here, way worse than what we're seeing, but it doesn't mean it ain't significant. It's space weather's effect on our electrical grid, or unnatural electrical components like, you know, transformers and wires and such like that. So I have to say that so people understand, especially for the newer people. I want them to be able to understand what we're looking at here. Okay, so this is seeds. I'm going to go to the previous day. This is the 29th. Boom, there's the big one, right? So we'll look at that again. So the big one blew over here, then we get this one. This is no chump, okay? This is substantial too. It's going, one of them are going this way, this one's going that way. It's like, yeah. So there's all that. Notice how it just kept going for hours. Okay, so let's go to the present day. Look at this. The sun's still ejecting, guys, in multiple locations. So we have to understand that. This is not something that's just stopped all of a sudden. Now, granted, that's not the stuff I showed you for today. This here is not like excessive amount of stuff or real huge stuff. But at any point in time, it could go there, especially with what we've got on the front side now. Now this is showing you a lot of those ejections, and the majority of them are going off the back. This is our backside view. Stereo A's here, and the Earth would be here. So that's actually going the opposite direction that we would want it. We want it to go this direction. So. Okay, here is the CME tracker, and obviously you see that. Okay, it does look as though we may take a glancing blow. Watch right here, and see how that little delayed reaction at the end. Watch right there. Okay, it looks like we might. Now I'm not saying we're going to, but this kind of combined with something else that was already coming off the sun too. And you can see it spiraling in. This is going to hit us. This right here, this little bar here is this. Okay? So, yeah. Earthquakes. Again, guys, we're getting earthquakes. There's a 5.8 in Argentina. A 5 in Tonga, a 5.3 in the Kermadec Islands, and up here in Alaska, a 5.4, a 3.1. I mean, we could just go through all these. They're not all chumps either. Now let's change this to all magnitudes and see what we get. This is what we see, right? Obviously, we're going to see more here and here like we always do. We know that's where the majority of what we're looking at, the activity's kind of there. Now make no mistake, the earthquakes don't stop just right here at the border of Canada. Okay? Here they are. Menacing Muskrat actually, sent this link over to me, so I had something to look at for the Canadian quakes. And that's what you got. See? They don't stop. Okay, so I'm going to do a couple things here, guys. Again, I wanted to go through that first because I wanted everybody to understand that definitely is something we needed to pay attention to with the flare and everything. But I'm going to get some people, try to get some people some understanding about what's actually going on. Let me show you this. I'm just going to make it bigger like this, guys. Hopefully you guys can see that. It's just a little diagram I put together real quick so people understand what I'm getting ready to say. It's important to know how and what the solar wind is. This is the sun. This is a coronal hole. Okay, that's typically where the increased solar wind leaves from those holes. Now the sun puts off wind all the time anyway, but it's more so during the coronal holes here. Okay? But as you're looking here, what I want you guys to understand is that the sun's here, coronal hole, here's the Earth. There is a connection line, IMF line, right in the middle. Okay, so the solar wind itself is this spiraling, spring-looking red spiral here going down that connection line. This is how the solar wind gets here. Okay, it's charged particles following a magnetic connection line. When we say the polarity of the phi angle changes, this is the polarity we're talking about with the solar wind. It'll be positive, negative, and then it'll flip. It'll be negative, positive. Okay? So hopefully that gives you a decent understanding of what and how solar wind gets here. This is what it does. It never varies from that road. Now, you know, the more dense it is, the closer it stays to that line, that road. The less dense it is, the further it gets away, and that's just what we see, right? So that's another reason why it moves faster, because it's less dense. But it's just that's a result of a faster stream, is why it's out further away from that connection line. So anyway, with all that being said, I hope you guys can see this visual, and take a screenshot if you want, and you know, just kind of look at it and get yourself a pretty good understanding of what that is, because it'll help you understand a lot more things that we talk about here if you understand those basic things about space weather. So I want, you know, I really want people to understand this. So when we do talk about things, you're not just wondering, well, what did he just say? What was that word he just said? And I try to get rid of the bigger words anyway. I could sit here and talk about high vocabulary to you guys all day long, like a few other people do, to try to make themselves look smart. That ain't important to me. I want everybody from, you know, the age of 6 to the age of 600 to understand what I'm saying. That's my goal. I'm not trying to come out here and look intelligent to anybody, because I guarantee you I'm probably doing the opposite. But but anyway, so there's that. Now I'm going to show you guys a little playlist I have real quick, and I showed you guys this a little. I think I showed it to you maybe yesterday, but I want to just go into this real quick. Just go to my playlist, okay, and go to basic space weather definitions. I've only got 4 videos in here. Okay, what is solar wind? I mean, I go through and I use definitions from, you know, wherever we can get them at. They all pretty much say the same thing when we're talking about the definitions of these things. Okay? So if I want to, and then this tells you what, because this is what I want people to look at today, is if they got time to go back and check these out. On this one especially, what is a solar flare? And then the next one, what is a coronal mass ejection? There's a difference. And if you guys go watch these 2 videos, you'll have a better understanding of why and what they are. They didn't used to be separate. They didn't know that both of them happened until just, you know, a few, well, I guess it was about 100 years ago, I think. Roundabout. So if you get a chance and you don't really have a good understanding of what this is, go check this out. It's only 1 minute and 34 seconds long. I kept them short like that on purpose. So I got what's a CME, and then I also have what's a sunspot. And I'm actually going to add to this one anyway. I just give you a very basic what they are, right? But I now have a better understanding of how they're formed and why they show up, you know, towards the poles and they migrate down towards the equator. I have a better understanding of that now. So I'd like to share that with you guys. Okay, and one more thing here. I'm gonna take you guys over to and the reason why I'm doing this, because I'm still getting questions on this. I don't know why I'm getting emails and stuff about this. Number one, I've already, I don't care to do it. It's not that. It's just I wonder where this is coming from, because it's now like 9 or 10 people, no, more like 12, have asked me about this, and what I'm talking about is the direction that the storms turn, here on our planet. So I went over here to Mr. MBB3, and you can go to windy.com right here, right? And I did this last time. Let me get rid of that. Okay, well, do that. There we go. So what this is, and I'll back up, give you a big view here, right? Essentially what causes these storms to rotate the way that they do? Well, it's the Coriolis effect. I'm not going to go into that definition, and you guys can go look at the definition if you want. It's fairly simple to understand. It's because we rotate. Okay, that's the reason. But it's an effect called Coriolis. And so what that means is our storms turn a certain direction. And you see what I got going on here, right? Here's the United States, and obviously Pacific Ocean. So, in the northern hemisphere, a low pressure system will turn counterclockwise. Okay? This is where people get it wrong. A high pressure system turns clockwise. If you go to the southern hemisphere, it's the exact opposite. Both of them. And we could go into the effects of what causes that and all that. We can look at Coriolis. We can do all this. But I'm going to give you guys a simple explanation. Okay? Because it's real easy to understand. That a low pressure system, the winds in that are getting drawn towards the center. In a high pressure storm system, not storm, but a high pressure system, they're actually going away from center. Okay? And I'm seeing, I think what the problem here is, you see what I'm looking at right here? Because this is kind of the default if you go to these kinds of sites like windy.com. The mistake people make is, because if you look at this, let's look down here. If you just looked at this and didn't know what you were actually looking at, you could say, hey, look, oh my gosh, this is turning to the left and that one's turning to the right. This one's to the right, that one's to the right. Okay, to the right, to the left. Okay, so why? Right? So if you didn't know, you would think this was all jacked up. Like they were spinning the wrong direction. You have to put on the pressure map. You have to know if it's a high or a low pressure. That explains everything I just showed you. As soon as you put the high and low pressures on here, given what I just said about the directions that they spin, this is why. Low and high pressure spin opposite directions in the same hemisphere. I think this is where the confusion's coming from. And I don't know, why. Like I said, I think what happens here is, I don't really care to know where that all was coming from. But man, a lot of people seen it. Why they were saying that these storms were turning in the wrong direction is beyond me. They're not. They were assuming that the high and low pressure systems spun the same direction, but they spun opposite in the hemispheres. Well, they do spin opposite in each hemisphere, northern and southern. But you have to have the high and low there also, because you got to compare high pressure here in the southern to high pressure here in the north. They're going to spin opposite. You see this high pressure right here? It's spinning to the right. This is the southern hemisphere, spinning counterclockwise. This is the high pressure system in the northern hemisphere. It's spinning clockwise. It's exactly what it's supposed to do. Now, I'm not talking about jet streams and how jacked up that is, because it most certainly is. Okay? I'm talking about the simple direction that these things are supposed to turn. And I think what was happening here is somebody was trying to say this is all jacked up and everybody else is ignoring it. Well, no, we're not ignoring it, because this is low pressure and that's high pressure. You got to understand the difference between the two. Again, low pressure is bringing in towards the middle. The wind's traveling towards the center. High pressure, it's traveling outward. And it's all caused, majority of it's caused by the rotation of the Earth, Coriolis effect, that kind of thing. So I hope that helps people. Okay? Because I really, I want everybody to understand, and I'm glad you guys send me emails and ask these kinds of questions, because I can help you with this kind of stuff. If I don't know the answer, I'll send you to Scott. He's in here. No, I'm just kidding. I will at least try to, find somebody that knows the answer, or point you to the direction and where you can possibly go find it. Or I'll try to find it myself. That kind of thing. I truly try to, help people with that kind of thing. I just, when I heard that, people were emailing me about that. I know I was a weather nut when I was a kid, but I really truly thought that this was kind of common knowledge, but I guess it's not. But that's a pretty bold statement when you come out and you say, hey, storms are turning the wrong direction in the northern and southern hemisphere. Now let me say this too. Every once in a while, we will get an anomaly storm that will spin the wrong direction. But it doesn't happen very often. A few years back, I remember we had one that actually was in the South Atlantic, and I think it went over to South America here. I'm pretty sure it was a hurricane, but that's been a long time ago, a few years back. Yeah, Scott, you're right. But I'm talking about overall big picture. I mean, they were going, a high pressure system and a low pressure system are going to spin opposite directions in the same hemisphere. That's what they do when they're right, because they're right next to each other. Right here's a perfect example. High pressure here is turning to the left. This is a low pressure, it's turning to the right. And we do get the anomalitic stuff that happens, like you're saying. But when we're talking about like jet streams, that's a total different subject. I'm just simply talking about what's normal for these storms to turn. And obviously things can affect them. But, if I take the pressure off there, how would you know? See that? You would automatically think things are all jacked up. You know what I mean? Yeah, I just think that it's just crazy. And I'm not trying to make fun of people. I'm really not. I really think it's bad that people don't know this, because it can cause a lot of confusion. It can cause you to go down a rabbit hole that you don't need to. You could be wasting your time going down getting bad info. That, I don't know where this is coming from, and frankly, I don't care. I just want to help the people that come and ask me the question. That's it. And hopefully the people that everybody here now understands this, hopefully they can kind of spread that out and people will get a better understanding. I'm not mad at whoever put this out at all. They just made a mistake. That's all I'm saying. You know what I mean? Well, I'm assuming that's all it was. Most likely it was just somebody making a mistake. If they were trying to do it for some, clicks and views and this and that, then, that's on them. They're the ones that got to sleep at night with that on their conscience, not me. And, ask Scott. I used to get I used to get bothered when people would do stuff like that. I had to learn a lot of patience. I had to grow about 5 feet of thick skin. That's why stuff doesn't bother me when people come in here and start smacking me around. That's why I say leave it in there. Because it will 100% prove that they're ridiculous on the back end of it. Because I can go straight back to the comment when I show something and prove exactly what they said wrong. And they just make themselves look ridiculous when they start getting personal, calling people names and stuff. But you guys know, like I said, they can do that to me. But if they do that to anybody in here, including other creators, mobs, subscribers, they're booted immediately. I don't put up with that kind of crap. It just doesn't, it can't happen. So, I like to explain that to people. And also, guys, I do want to explain, if I got enough of you here still, our chat room rules. I've noticed the past couple videos, there's been some issues and stuff in the chat, which we're going to have that from time to time, okay? But so everybody knows the rules. The rules that I have is, and not every, a lot of channels don't do it this way. This is just me. You cannot use vulgarity. If you use the word, excuse my language, shit or damn or something like that, okay, I get it, whatever. Say it, move on. It's more about what the context is for me. If you're taking a shot intentionally to hurt somebody on a personal level that has nothing to do with the theory or the idea they were just talking about, we can't do that. Not here in my chat. If you want to disagree, that's fine. Do it respectful, and most of the time it works out. But as of late, I've noticed we've had to do a few things and get people out, kind of block, put people on timeout, that kind of thing. Now, one thing I do want to stress, what I would like for, especially like when people are having those kinds of issues, I would love for you guys to get some sort of a warning. Hey, please don't do that again. Kind of stop it. And then if you do it again, it's a 300-second timeout. And then a third time you're out. That's just how I'm going to have to do it. And that's pretty much what my mods have been doing. And yeah, I mean, it is. And you can tell when somebody is being genuine, and as long as they're not attacking somebody or just being so disrespectful to them, even if they, we know what passive aggressiveness is, right? You can use passive aggressiveness and offend somebody way more and hurt them way more sometimes than if you were just right in their face. People are not stupid. People know when somebody's being passive aggressive. If you got something to say to somebody, say it in a respectful way, say it to their face, and keep moving. If not, kick rocks. I'm sorry. That's just the way it has to be. And I don't allow people to attack other creators either, whether I like them or not. People start saying stuff about anybody other creator in a negative fashion, they're out. Yeah. Right. I mean, and again, like, this is the difference, I'm a mod over at Scott's channel, and I respect his rules because his rules are just a little bit different. If it's starts bashing anybody, including him, he wants us to get him out of there, and I respect that. That's just what has to happen over there on his channel. And I understand why he's there, because people really attacked for a very long time. A very long time. this genre, especially of what we do here, we get attacked a lot. You know, but yeah. So I want to assure people, you guys do get, if you do something wrong and you don't mean to, the mod's probably going to say something to you. Then if you do it a second time, they're going to time you out, because that second time you're going to know that you're doing it. And then if you decide to do it again, you're getting booted. That's just what it is. I don't like doing it. I like to try to have as much of a free thinking, free speech type of thing. Scott, I know, man. That's why I was showing them the difference. That's just what it is, and it's okay. My way may not be right for Scott, and his way may not be right for me. It's all about each other's, and I respect everybody's decision. When you come to somebody's chat room, you have to respect their rules. You know? I said doo-doo. Yeah. You mod for a 12-year-old gaming channel? Toughest mod job ever? I would imagine, Axe, because you get kids in there throwing around some massively disgusting words, and then you probably even get some people in there that aren't necessarily kids saying some disgusting stuff. So, yeah, I don't know that I would even be a part of that. That would be hard. I agree. If I was doing a mod on a channel like that, they could just say something like the word fart, and I'd probably boot them, because I wouldn't want none of that stuff getting to kids. 8 to 30-year-olds? Okay, cool. Yeah, that's ridiculous, Scott. I just have to say that, guys. What in the world has gotten into people to think that somebody has to send them pictures of somebody that's sick because they don't believe that she's sick or she's okay? You know what I mean? There's a whole lot of disgusting mind thought there. Really is. Frankly, it disgusts me. I can't stand people like that. It's so crazy. People are already dealing with stuff, life in general. Scott's dealing with a really hard situation right now. And yet people still want to come at him like that. And again, it's because of the internet. That's exactly what it is. There is no barrier there. Yeah, exactly. You guys need, anybody that's listening to me right now that's actually asked Scott to do something like that, take in consideration her. She doesn't want people to see her in that condition. She does not feel good, guys. She is really, really sick. And it just makes me sick when people attack like that. Even if Scott wasn't one of my close friends, I would still feel this way about anybody like that. But more so because me and him are friends. I mean, there's a little bit of an extra don't mess with them type of thing, in my head. And, guys, Scott reciprocates that back to me often. He takes up for me all the time. And, I wouldn't be the person I am if I didn't stand with my friends and people I believe in. And that's what I do. I may not do it exactly like people want me to do it, but I do it. You guys have seen me handle some situations here, actually, in a way that I was able to get my point across, and they're the ones that were trying to bash me and stuff, and I addressed them. I typically don't address the chat, people doing that. You guys know that. But that is what it is, and I was able to handle it in a way that it made them, because I never got mad. They're the ones that were getting really mad, not me. That's happened a couple times. Yeah, see, we got, what's up here? Yeah, so I don't know what was said there. Well, let's just read it. Whatever that means. Oh, yeah. Later. I don't know what to say there. I mean, yeah, there is nothing there for us to, like, try to help somebody. Why would you say something? That's just stupid. I don't get it. Yeah, Scott. I mean, exactly, guys. Scott says a lot of you have helped with contributions, and says, I thank all of you guys very much. I can say this from being his personal friend. He has expressed to me multiple times how thankful he is that you guys have been so, giving and helping. It is what it is, and it just shows the character of the people that we surround ourselves with. And that's what we do. People care. And to be honest with you, I don't think Scott thought that was ever going to happen here on the internet, where he could find people that actually care about him. And I think he found it. Well, number one, it had to start with me. I cared, and that's why I did what I did. But with me doing that, I think it's helped him realize, and everybody else around, that there's a lot of people that care about Scott Sion, and a lot of people care about Dr. Albers. And that's a great thing. So I appreciate anybody that's helping out. Scott, you can drop the link down in there if you need to, man. Guys, let me say this too. Even if it was one of them, if me and Scott had never met and whatever, and I heard this about somebody being sick with mercury poisoning and all that kind of thing, I would still, feel really bad for that person. Thanks, Lower. Really appreciate that. Back at you, Scott. And I'm serious. I mean, that's just something we've been able to accomplish, and that's it. You don't typically find stuff like that here on the internet, and I feel lucky. I really do. I feel lucky to have all you guys. I mean, a lot of you guys have become my personal friends just from going over to Mark's channel. I've gotten to know a lot of you guys over there, and I think anybody that doesn't go over there is making a mistake. I mean, you can really get to know some good people. Yeah, exactly. Exactly, guys. He's I don't pretend to know, because I've been through a lot of health issues myself, but I can tell you this, and I know Scott said this to me before. If he could just take all that pain away and put it on himself, he would. And obviously I believe him on that, because number one, I would do the exact same thing for my wife. And a lot of you guys in here probably would for your spouses. If we had the choice to take the pain away from them and put it on us, we would do that. What in the world makes people think that Scott would not do that for his wife? That's what makes me sick about some of this stuff. It's just ridiculous. So, I'll leave that all at that, Let me, do this, guys, real quick before we get out of here. Well, here's mine. Okay, if you guys want to help me out, there's my PayPal. I put it up there once a video, sometimes twice. I don't push it because that's just not something I do. I didn't expect to ever do this. Scott and everybody else was pushing me for months, years, to get me to do that. Okay, thank you, Scott. That's what I was getting ready to do. I was going to go get the link for that. Cool. Yeah, did you guys see that? That monolith that was out there in Nevada, it's gone. It disappeared last night. It's crazy stuff, man. I just don't. Guys, I mean, if you guys went and you looked at that thing, the thing was riveted together. and there were concrete saw marks on the ground where they had put it there. That's not ancient technology. Just let me say that first and foremost. Okay? That is crazy that people really, really went. If it was like a solid, like a true monolith, like Stonehenge and stuff like that, I could see the lure to that kind of thing. And even to this, until you go stand next to it and see that it's riveted together. Yeah. What's up, Verte? It was a suppository and it sank in. Good one, Hilly. Like that. Heck yeah, man. Dude, you make me laugh every video. I love that. Sweet. Thanks, Scott. Appreciate that, man. Heck yeah. Heck yeah. That's cool. Thank you. I got a story you might like on that. My dad, when I was a kid, back when the scratch-offs first came out, we live in Indiana, right on the border of Ohio, so we didn't have the tickets here in Indiana yet. So my dad drove over there across the border, bought like $5 and $1 scratch-offs, won like $1,500. Okay, this is back in the 90s. So back then, when you hit that big, you had to like drive somewhere to go get it cashed in. So that's what he did. He came back to the same store, bought another one, hit $1,500 more. It was crazy. I couldn't believe it. But yeah, that was kind of cool. But thanks, Scott. Appreciate that, man. Oh, man. Yeah, guys, I'm going to probably have to get off here. I got to call the garage door people. I got to give a special thanks to Arthur W., by the way. I didn't mention my garage door spring breaking for just because it came up in conversation. I didn't expect anybody to send me a donation on something like that. But Arthur sent me $200 for a new garage door spring. That was awesome. So, I don't say last names unless they tell me I can. But that was just crazy. I couldn't believe it. And what's even, like I said, I got a 19.5-inch solid wood door. It takes 2 full-size springs, wound up pretty tight to lift that door. I can't lift it by myself if I don't have help. That's how heavy it is. It's on tracks and everything, but anybody knows anything about garage doors, they have to have a spring on them, or there's no way you're getting them up, unless they're aluminum or something. I need to go ahead and get a vinyl or an aluminum door anyway, but I got a really bastard size garage door. It'd be very, very expensive to get something like that. I'm talking like $4,000. It's crazy, but that's what it would be. It's a 2.5 car garage. I like it, but yeah. Arizona. Yes, thank you, Arizona. Hey, you guys don't have to ever wish to do more. You don't have to do nothing. I'm telling you guys, I would never even have done any of this, putting my PayPal out there, until people really started asking a lot about that. And, I have to say that I really appreciate it. And I will say this too. I think that anybody that does these channels deserves that kind of stuff. It's just not what I was doing, I'm not going to monetize or anything like that. And I'm not going to keep, I'm not going to throw my PayPal out there 1,000 times a video like you see other people doing. That's just not me. I'm not going to do that. I understand that people have life. You know what I'm saying? And I know that you guys care enough that you'll help me if I was to come out and ask for it. But you also give when I don't ask. And, I don't want anybody ever to give me any kind of donation if it's going to put you in a bad spot for anything. You know what I mean? Hey, what's up, Steve? By the way, guys, I want to remind people, go ahead and keep sending me emails and put in the subject line, notification, please. And I'm generating an email list that I'm gonna send out my own notifications. I'm gonna bypass YouTube altogether when it comes to that. So anybody who wants to be on that list, let me know. I would still encourage you to keep the YouTube bell hit, but we all know they don't always do that. So, it is what it is. Can I send you some blue Kool-Aid? Hey, give me an address. I'll send you a buck or two. Or hey, guess what? I'll send it to you through Amazon. For sure, Jay Lover. Just send it to my my email. Right there. Oh, there's no space there, guys. Sorry about that. It's bluecool52 at Gmail. So, I am going to go ahead and get off here, guys. I got to start making some phone calls. I got to get some tires on my van, too, today. So, got lots to do. Jerry, you okay? What's going on with that? You got muted? What for? Was it an accident? Sorry that happened, man. Okay, cool. It must have been an accident. I don't know, unless it was a misunderstanding. Yeah, Jerry, I mean, I've never heard you go sideways at all. So, yeah, yeah, okay. As long as you guys got it handled, I hope, yeah. Sorry that happened to everybody in there. I don't, again, that's cool. It's all good, guys. Hey, let me say something this too. Listen, people make mistakes. Even if they, if they come out and they say something, a mod sees it, doesn't really necessarily understand the whole context. Every once in a while, we're all going to make mistakes. I've done it myself. And if that happens, typically it gets resolved really, really quick. Every mod I've gotten here in my chat room, I promise you, is trying to do the right thing. So that's what I would say. Just know. Hey, Candace, what's up? Yeah, you have a good day too, okay? And again, guys, thank you guys so much for everything you've done here, especially the past few weeks with the donations and stuff. I was really floored that, yeah, you guys are awesome. That's all I can say. You guys really came through in a situation. I didn't even put anything out there. You guys really don't even know. You guys just know that you helped me out a lot. And you didn't even know you were doing it. And that's what makes it even better. So, anyway, guys, God bless. Have a great start of your week. Good week. Yahusha saves, and you can drink this Kool-Aid.